Before we start and share with you an overview of the agenda, please let me make an acknowledgement of country. Our organising committee, our co-hosts, of course our Congress Secretariat would all like to acknowledge the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation. The Gadigal people are the traditional custodians of the lands of Gomorrah, which is the land on which we will be hosting IAC 2025 in Sydney next year. And we would also like to pay our respects to all elders past and present, and to the children of today who are the elders of the future. So let me share a little bit of an overview of the agenda. You can see it on screen there, I hope. We'll be asking for this morning or this evening, wherever you are in the world, a few moments of your time, probably around 30 or 40 minutes in terms of the presentation and Q&A component. And we hope that you can stay on with us for that period to get a good insight around all of the things that are shaping IAC 2025. We'll provide you with some insight into our organisers, IAF, of course, our hosts, SIA, and our co-hosts, Investment New South Wales and also the Australian Space Agency, with some presentations from key speakers across each. We'll be looking very closely at the overview of planning already for Sydney in terms of themes and highlights, expected audience, program and venue. We'll also be talking a little bit about sponsorship and exhibition and the critical timeline of when all of this planning is coming together, to hopefully give you a good understanding of where we're at and where you might be at in partnership or with us as we move forward to deliver the Congress in Sydney next year. Before we hand over to the individual guest speakers today, please let me give a quick overview of all of the speakers that will be presenting on today's call. Firstly, we have Christian Fleidinger, who is Executive Director of the International Astronautical Federation. We have Jeremy Hallett, who is the Chair of the Space Industry Association of Australia and Chair for IAC 2025. Jeremy is supported as well by Lisa Vitaras, who is the Interim CEO for SIA and also Director for IAC 2025 Sydney. We have Enrico Palumbo. He's the head of the Australian Space Agency, who are, of course, a co-host of IAC 2025. And Maroon El-Khoury joins us as Executive Director for Industry and Investment Partnerships with Investment New South Wales, our government sponsor, state government supporter, as an IAC 2025 co-host as well. Without further ado, please let me hand over to Christian to say a few words on behalf of the IAF. Over to you, Christian.
Thank you very much, Thomas. And on behalf of the IAF, International Astronautical Federation, a very warm welcome to this town hall briefing to all who are connected. Let me just shortly introduce to you the International Astronautical Federation, the organization that is the organizer of the International Astronautical Congress. Our federation was created in 1951, so we are a quite traditional organization, more than 70 years old. And since 74 years, we are organizing our milestone event, the International Astronautical Congress. So this year will be anniversary edition, 75th edition of the Congress, and it will take place in Milan. And next year, we are very excited to come back to Australia, to the region, and the IAC 2025 will be organized in Sydney, Australia, in next September-October timeframe. So the International Astronautical Federation can today be called truly as the leading global space advocacy organization. We are a very global organization with 513 member organizations from 77 countries, covering actually comprising all different categories of member organizations, from all the space agencies, space industry, the big ones, the small ones, the startups, but also space universities, space musea, associations. Everybody, any organization that is really active in space has become a member of the federation, and the numbers are growing from year to year. Our motto is connecting all space people. How are we doing this? We are doing this through our events, and here, of course, first and foremost, through the International Astronautical Congress, which is annually organized in a different city worldwide, moving around. It is the time and the place of the year for the entire space community, global space community, to meet, to share their latest achievements, to set up partnerships, and to meet. It's kind of a family reunion, as some of our colleagues call it sometimes. The International Astronautical Congress has seen a tremendous development over the last years. Figures, participation is growing on a yearly basis. The contents of the Congress is growing and almost exploding. 2 years ago, we had a record-breaking Congress in Paris with 9,500 participants. This year, the IAC 2024 in Milan promises to beat all records. We've received almost double the number of abstracts submitted as we have usually, and we hope for a participation that goes well beyond 10,000. So this just gives us already a feeling that the IAC 2025 in Sydney will be another outstanding opportunity, an outstanding event that will kind of continue the outstanding history and legacy of the IAC. We are extremely pleased to work with a very active team in Australia, with the with the association, but also with the Space Agency and the New South Wales government. And I can only tell you that this will be a one-off opportunity which you should not miss. I think the IAC is the perfect place to showcase your organization, to gain visibility through your participation, through your engagement with the exhibition, with sponsorship opportunities that are available for you. And all this is kind of open to you now. And that's actually why this event is taking place now, to announce kind of the issue of the sponsorship and exhibition prospectus, which you are kindly asked to have a look at and see what is in for you. Reach out to us. We are very happy to help you and looking forward, of course, to welcoming you. First of all, of course, in Milan, but certainly even more importantly, next year in Sydney, in Australia. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Christian, for those words on behalf of the IAF. It's obviously a very rich history and legacy that that Sydney will take on in terms of 2025 planning, and so we're very excited about that. I would like to hand over now to Jeremy Hallett. Jeremy, of course, is our chair for IAC 2025 next year. Over to you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Thomas, and hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining this session to hear about what we're planning for IAC in Sydney next year. As mentioned, I'm the chair of the Space Industry Association of Australia and also the chair of the local organising committee for our IAC next year. I'm looking forward to warmly welcoming you to Sydney from the 29th of September to the 3rd of October 2025. Just quickly about the Space Industry Association of Australia. We're the peak body for space in Australia. We're a membership-based organisation made up of approximately 80 corporate members, ranging from large aerospace prime contractors through to 10-person startups. You have companies that are manufacturing and launching rockets through to law firms, the manufacturing supply chain, academia and government, representing quite a broad and deep cross-section of the space sector in Australia. We are very proud to be the host of the 76th IAC in Sydney next year, with a theme that you'll hear a bit more about of sustainable space and resilient Earth. Australia has actually hosted 2 IACs in the past. IAC 1998 was hosted in Melbourne by the CSIRO, where I know there was approximately 700 attendees, and IAC 2017 in Adelaide, which was hosted by my organisation, with approximately 4,500 attendees. And we're looking to top that in a big way next year in Sydney. Since the IAC in 2017, we've seen the Australian space sector really flourish with now over 600 space-based organisations in our country. And this sectoral growth has really been reflected internationally as well. And I note that every country these days has a stated ambition to progress their state capability in order to provide goods and services here on Earth, and also to provide progress science and exploration amongst the stars. Much of this growth has been in the Indo-Pacific region, and I'm really gratified that many of our regional neighbours are actively seeking to partner with Australia for our innovative space-based technologies and solutions. And importantly, and as you'll come to learn, Australia's geographic advantage with our vast open spaces and clear and quiet skies. It's no mean feat to win the bid to host an IAC. We had a lot of support along the way through the process, and even now as we continue to execute on the organisation of the event. And I'd really like to offer my sincere thank you to all of the governments, industry associations and academic institutions who supported Australia in our bid for IAC 2025. We know that IACs bring great progress to a host country's space industry. At our IAC in 2017 in Adelaide, the Australian government announced during the opening ceremony the establishment of the Australian Space Agency. And for IAC 2025, we've extended our focus to the Indo-Pacific region. And we're very excited about the great progress that was going to bring to our region's space sector. And we're looking forward to bringing all of you to Sydney to see what's on offer in the region. We're also extending the focus to space-enabled industries for the first time in an IAC. We really want to showcase how space benefits sectors such as resources, including mining, oil and gas, agriculture, and telecommunications, to name a few. We want to remind everyone how critical space is for life on Earth. And this is very much in line with our theme that I mentioned, sustainable space, resilient Earth. Space is now a truly international endeavour, and we often refer to IAC as the Olympics of space. It brings out the world's best of the best. It fosters innovation, it cements partnerships, and it ignites dreams. And to do this, we need a truly global city as host. And Sydney is that city. And we're looking forward to being able to host IAC next year in our beautiful harbour city of Sydney, which you can see in the background behind me, whilst also shining a light on all of the countries who participate. We're expecting around 10,000 attendees between 80 to 100 countries. Lastly, I'd really like to highlight the significance of the timing of IAC 2025. At the midpoint of the decade, 2025 is a critical time in the space roadmaps of many governments and organisations. We're on the cusp of returning humans to the moon. We're on the cusp of a truly commercial low Earth orbit economy, and space capabilities are connecting humanity like never before. We look forward to celebrating these and highlighting the significant announcements that will be made at IAC 2025, looking to propel our global space sector's progress and success into the future. So with that, I again look forward to personally welcoming you all to IAC 2025 in Sydney, and I encourage you to listen well now and consider how you can make the most of this incredible opportunity. Thanks for your attention.
Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's very exciting to hear as well, obviously, the focus around the Indo-Pacific. And I think many of those that are on this call are joining us from those regions as well as the Americas this morning. Further to your comments there around planning and vision for IAC 2025, please let us introduce Enrico Palermo, who is head of the Australian Space Agency and, of course, a co-host to IAC 2025. Over to you, Enrico.
Thanks, Thomas, and thanks, Christian and Jeremy, for those wonderful remarks as well. Hello. If I haven't had a chance to meet, as said, head of the Australian Space Agency, I'm proud to represent the Australian government on this call, and extremely proud and honoured to be supporting IAF and co-hosting with SIA and Investment New South Wales to deliver IAC in Sydney next year. It's great to see colleagues from around the world on this call, and I'm pleased to be speaking with you from our headquarters here in Adelaide, which is on the land of the Kaurna people, and I pay my respects to their elders, past and present. And as you will learn, particularly at IAC in Sydney next year, that connection of Australians, First Nations people to space, spanning tens of thousands of years, is something we want to, as well as the voices of First Nations from around the world. So we look forward as the agency and government to extending a warm Aussie welcome to all delegates from around the world. And this is a special opportunity. As Jeremy covered, our legacy as an agency is deeply rooted in the history of IAF, with the IAC 2017 here in Adelaide launching off, or being the launching off point for the Australian Space Agency. And since then, we have seen that moment catalyse the nation's space sector. But this IAC is different in Sydney, and I'm confident we will create yet new legacies for our sector globally and here in Australia in the region. So we are bringing it back to Australia, but broadly we are bringing IAF's global network, you hopefully all, to the region. Many of you know it's at a fascinating, exciting time globally. The world is on a sprint to ensure it has the space technologies, the applications for those technologies to improve life, to improve prosperity and security here on Earth. But it's also a renewed phase of discovery and exploration as we look to the moon and beyond. And globally, that's the story. And I think it very much reflects what's happening in our dynamic region. If you look at what many nations are doing in their own ambitious space programs, and also particularly here in the Pacific, the pressing need to deal with the significant effects of climate change, which we know space services can play a significant role in understanding and mitigating. Here in Australia, we're proud to be a space-faring nation again. We have operational spaceports, companies attempting to launch rockets into orbit, quite an ambitious sector that scaled in recent years, that's partnering internationally. It's a sector that's bringing our best scientists, our best engineers and talent to bear. And we've seen hundreds of millions of dollars of investment, both private and public, in recent years. And so our sector is going from strength to strength, and that is momentum you'll see next year in what's being, I agree, our iconic location of Sydney. So we look to support SIA in delivering a successful IAC, and we deliver that wholeheartedly. We'll deliver that wholeheartedly in full alignment with the IAF's 3G Plus diversity mission. That's part of our commitment on how we want to deliver a wonderful IAC, as we know IAF is able to bring together again and again that global community. So thank you for joining us today, this morning, this evening, depending where you are in the world. No doubt we'll see many of you in Milano in October, but encourage you to come to Sydney next year, come and partner with us, come and see what's happening and be part of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Enrico. It's fantastic to hear all of the burgeoning collaborations and the landscape for the sector here in Australia as well. Without further ado, please let me introduce Maroon El-Khoury. Maroon is the Executive Director for Industry and Investment Partnerships with Investment New South Wales, a government state body here in New South Wales as co-host for IAC 2025. Maroon, over to you.
Thank you, Thomas. Good morning from Sydney. Good afternoon and good evening to wherever you are, to everyone on the call. Once again, as introduced, my name is Maroon El-Khoury, and I'm the Executive Director at Investment New South Wales. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome you all on behalf of the New South Wales Government to this launch event. I certainly look forward to welcoming you to Sydney next year. Now, for anyone who's still deciding if the trip down under is worth it, let me try and convince and reassure you with a few factors. At almost $700 billion, the New South Wales economy is Australia's largest and accounts for about 1/3 of the nation's economic output, and is home to nearly 1/3 of Australia's population. Sydney, the capital of New South Wales, is a city of remarkable innovation and opportunity. The city is undergoing an $8.7 billion infrastructure transformation, which is fueling our culture of entrepreneurship and innovation. As the startup capital of Australia, Sydney houses 40% of the nation's startups and is the second highest ranked city in the Asia Pacific region for innovation. Our beautiful city is home to 8 world-class universities with active space programs, making Sydney a hub for highly skilled and diverse talent. There is so much opportunity and potential in our state and in our city, and we are incredibly proud and excited for you to engage and collaborate with our space sector to witness the truly amazing work that's being done here. We're very proud that New South Wales is home to the largest percentage of space companies in Australia. We have companies supporting NASA's return to the moon, others designing cutting-edge satellite systems, and those tracking everything in orbit. There are also companies exploring how space can improve health, along with many pushing the boundaries of what is possible in the space industry. And the space industry in New South Wales is strong and it's certainly growing. The New South Wales government's strategic investments demonstrate our commitment to this industry. We eagerly anticipate the partnerships and collaboration ventures that will arise from IAC 2025. Sydney has a unique ecosystem where academics and entrepreneurs and visionaries meet to redefine what is possible. And such is our excitement that while you're here, we're putting on a festival of space. Now, we're not going to give too much away, but let's just say that Sydney cannot wait to host you. We're busy getting ready with installations and activations that will give our city a real buzz and increase awareness of the need for a sustainable space sector. The festival will offer something for all ages, and we invite you to bring your colleagues, please bring your friends, and of course, bring your families. So while you're here, you can see a show at our iconic Opera House, or you could pet a koala at Taronga Zoo, but more importantly, you can partner with our space sector. We're here waiting for you in beautiful Sydney. We look forward to you joining us for the IAC 2025 event in Sydney, and I certainly look forward to meeting as many of you next year. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maroon. It's exciting to have your welcome there, of course, to Sydney and to New South Wales as well, for everybody joining us internationally in particular. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, Lisa Vitaras. Lisa is the Director for IAC 2025 and will share with us a little bit of further information in terms of insight into early planning around the Congress that's going to take place in Sydney next year. Over to you there, Lisa.
Thanks so much, Thomas. Hi, everyone. I'm going to start talking about the theme. So the theme of IAC 2025 is Sustainable Space, Resilient Earth. And this is made up of three parts: space-based application for Earth, sustainable space activities, and sustaining life off Earth. A highlight of our IAC, which you've already been told, is that we're showcasing the whole of the Indo-Pacific region. There's so much progress in space and equally so much need for space across our entire region. It's also not very often that the whole of the Indo-Pacific region's capability is on show. So we look forward to shining a light on this at IAC 2025. Another highlight, as Maroon has just mentioned, is the Festival of Space. And whilst most of this is currently in development for now, you could imagine things like a space film festival, a space art exhibition, a space-themed drone show, and a general festival atmosphere in and around IAC 2025 as we look to entertain our delegates as well as excite the broader Australian public about space. We also plan to have Spaceship 2025, which you can see there on the right, which is a cruise that will run post IAC 2025 from Sydney up to Brisbane and include many fun space-themed activities for the whole family. So please do bring them. We expect 8,000 to 10,000 delegates from over 80 countries and over 3,000 approved abstracts. We'll attract academics, investors, senior business leaders, scientists, engineers, young professionals, entrepreneurs, researchers, government officials, lawyers, press, students, and astronauts, to name just a few. I'm particularly excited about introducing space-enabled industries into IAC 2025, which, as Jeremy mentioned, will be the first IAC that this has been done. And given mining is approximately 14% of Australia's gross domestic product, we'll have a large focus on resources, which covers mining, oil and gas, as well as construction, manufacturing, health, smart cities, utilities, ICT, telecommunications, agriculture, finance, and emergency services. And this provides even more commercial opportunities for businesses. In addition to this, we plan to have business matching, a startup presentation zone, and investor matching. And here's a very, very first view of the IAC 2025 program, which will be available on the IAF website and can be accessed from IAC2025.org. The key things to mention are the VIP track, government delegation programming, an exciting 5-day program, a 4-day B2B expo, and a 1-day public expo on Friday, the 3rd of October. We're also introducing sponsored breakfasts and lunches for the first time where you can bring your own speakers. In addition, I'd like to call out we'll have technical site visits the week after IAC 2025 in each state and territory, which we will give you a preview of at IAC 2024 Milan. Plus, there's also New Zealand Aerospace Summit 2025 from the 7th to the 8th of October 2025 in Christchurch, New Zealand, and they will have technical site visits on offer as well. So please do extend your trip around our part of the region. Thomas, I'll hand back to you.
Thank you so much for that, Lisa. It's great to get an understanding of the vision and the focus around early planning for Sydney. Perhaps to add to that as well, and to let everybody on the call know, if you haven't visited Sydney before, we'll be hosting IAC 2025 as a centerpiece of the ecosystem wrapped around the Congress at the International Convention Centre in Sydney. We have a very significant exhibition space already booked and in place, which is around 19,000 square metres, which is connected through to all of the session rooms, meeting rooms, other activities that will be happening within the program, all self-contained in the single building. One of the key features around the host venue at ICC Sydney is that it sits within Darling Harbour, which is our Sydney CBD precinct. It has all the amenities you can imagine in terms of fine dining, eateries, wine, etc., within the CBD, all in close proximity. And critically, it provides access to hotels for all budgets, including student accommodation, within either walking distance or on our light rail system here in Sydney. I'd like to take a few moments just to share some of the context around how to partner through sponsorship and exhibition with IAC 2025. Of course, welcoming you all onto the call today was really to give you a sense that we have done some initial planning. All of the stakeholders that you've heard from today are getting behind the development of all of the plans for the Congress next year in Sydney. Part of that is that we've worked with the IAF, as Christian mentioned, to have an early release around the sponsorship and exhibition prospectus for Sydney next year. So what that means is if you head to the IAC 2025.org website, as of right now, you can see our prospectus online. You can look at all of the different permutations of how you could potentially sponsor or exhibit at the Congress next year. Maybe the caveat there to share with you is that whilst we are on this call talking to you now, and we are welcome to your inquiries, either through the Secretariat to Lisa and the team there at SIA or to Christian and the team at IAF. We will only open applications for sponsorship and exhibition when we reach Milan in October this year. Moving on from Milan, we're looking at implementing for the first time for an IAC a priority window that would allow the tiered sponsors that you see on the screen now the ability to have first choice around sponsorship options, first choice around exhibition options, just for a limited window of 6 weeks from the start of Milan through until the end of November. What this means, I think pragmatically for many of you joining the call, is if you're looking at being involved with the Congress next year in Sydney, we really encourage you to reach out to our various cohorts that can help address and communicate with you around sponsorship and exhibition, really from today all the way through to Milan and beyond, knowing that the start line for us is both here and also in Milan in October. As you can see there are a range of different benefits that are stepped out in our prospectus online. We have tiered sponsorship, but also we have many organisations that might like to sponsor in a very particular format or supporting a very particular activity. we've tried to segment within the online prospectus for you a very clear breakdown in terms of the different categories in which you could potentially direct your sponsorship support towards the meeting. As Lisa said, some of the great things like new breakfasts and lunches being integrated into the IAC, where you can bring along a speaker. Of course, some of the existing forms of sponsorship will be very familiar to you if you've been involved in an IAC from a sponsorship perspective in the past. Things like the IPMC Young Professionals Workshop, Global Networking Forum, of course, will be critical components of the program that you can be involved with. From a networking perspective, where we've tried to, as Lisa said, introduce some exciting things like business matchmaking and a suite to accommodate that, but also we'll have a very significant exhibition. We're increasing the number of networking suites and meeting rooms because we know that there's high demand for that. So we're trying to learn from the established offering around IACs in the past and really provide something unique and a little bit special in Sydney. To that end, we encourage you to have a look very closely at the delegate experience. There are branding opportunities there, and there are also ways to be involved in the experience in general that delegates will go through as they join us in Sydney. And we're also looking at providing a whole range of different physical and digital advertising and branding options there as well. On the exhibition, currently you'll see on the live prospectus on a static image, which is the image on the right-hand side. We will be transitioning that to a live online exhibition when we reach Milan. But in terms of inquiries, we're happy to field and discuss with you what's possible within that space. You can see that whilst we do have a large area, we do have the ability to scale up and scale down depending on your needs, and we can also collapse some aisleways, etc. if you're looking at having, let's say, a country pavilion or something a little bit more significant as well. I will move on quickly to the critical timeline and the next stages of planning and engagement with each of you. As you can see, the 2024 milestones primarily related to sponsorship and exhibition, although a lot of other planning is, of course, taking place as well. We're talking today about the release of the prospectus and floor plan online, so that is available for you. We will encourage your inquiries all the way through to the start of Milan on the 14th of October. And that marks the point from which we're able to work with you to formalise and accept any applications for sponsorship and exhibition towards IAC 2025 Sydney. We'll keep that priority window for sponsors to secure a priority position or a preferred position within the exhibition through until the 29th of November, around 6 weeks. And then moving forward from that point, just working by date of application on whatever the Congress can offer at that point in terms of sponsorship or exhibition. Into 2025, some of the key milestones we'll further refine and provide exact dates to, but in general, we'll be looking at a couple of milestones in Q1 around the close of early bird registration. If you're looking at bringing a delegation or if you're looking at bringing colleagues, attending yourself, we really encourage you to look at those milestones and take advantage of the reduced cost early bird rates. We'll also be closing off the technical abstract submissions. As Christian mentioned, a fantastic outcome in Milan that we hope to at least match, if not exceed. Lisa, of course, in terms of our planning for Sydney next year. So we really encourage you to work towards those milestones in Q1 next year. Share with us all of your technical expertise. We'll in turn, of course, come back to you over the course of abstract notifications if you've submitted an abstract, and we'll also work with those that might be coordinating country pavilions or government delegations to make sure that they're integrated into the ecosystem of IAC 2025 next year. Maybe a closing comment just in regard to inquiries. Christian mentioned, of course, his team at IOF are willing to support and involved in this process very closely as well. We encourage you to reach out to either Lisa as our director for IAC 2025 or myself and our Congress Secretariat team who are supporting Lisa. And of course, on the right-hand side of the screen there, you'll also see our website, which we encourage you to visit if you do have a moment, IAC iac2025.org, or if you've got your phone there and the QR code is unimpeded, you can scan that and bounce straight to the website there as well. Please do have a look at the information that's available, and more will be coming very shortly. I might just close sharing my screen here and come back to our speakers, if we can ask our speakers to come back on video, if that's all right. We've asked for any comments in the chat or questions. I haven't seen any yet, but we would encourage you, just while we have a few minutes before we close the call, if you can, or if you've got any questions, please do pop something into the chat and we'll work to request our fantastic presenters to address that. But in the meantime, perhaps I can ask for either Christian or Jeremy to share a few words with us in sort of summary around today's call as well.
Yeah, thanks, Thomas. I thank all of you, of course, for the great presentations. But I would like to reach out to all of our potential participants and sponsors that are connected today. You may ask yourself, why are we doing this town hall event today? Why do we announce this now? Reason being that in the last years, and specifically in Milan, we have seen that sponsorship and exhibition opportunities are running out very quickly, and what was in the past year still available in the June-July timeframe of the year of the IAC is not available nowadays anymore, because people are making their decisions earlier and earlier. And therefore, I'm very grateful to the team of Lisa and Jeremy and of course also Enrico and Maroon to set up this very structured approach to inform you well in advance now of what the opportunities are, give you time until the IAC in Milan to internally consult, with SIA, to consult with us, and then jump in when the window of opportunity opens on the 14th of October at the IAC in Milan, and try to make your decision as early as possible in order to be sure that you will get exactly what you want. And that's what we would like. We want to serve you in the best way, to give you all the visibility which you want to have in the different aspects. So I can only encourage you to take your decisions quickly and make use of this opportunity, of this priority booking, starting as of 14th of October. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Christian. I'm checking the chat here. Unfortunately, we don't have any questions from the floor. I know that there's probably huge numbers of questions out there, but everybody gets a bit shy on the joint call, so that's okay. Perhaps, excuse me, is that Mary? You had a question there, Mary?
I only wanted to make a comment, and that is, the last time that I was in Australia was in Adelaide in 2017. And I would say that, with a huge salute to the IAF, that the whole process since 2017, in the intervening years, has changed. It's much more of a partnership, I would say, between the IAF and the host. And that makes it a much better experience for those of us who are sponsors. And so this is all very exciting.
Thank you so much, Mary. A vote of confidence. That's fantastic. And it's good to see the evolution, of course, as well. Jeremy, perhaps, I know we're running out of time, but if we can ask you as chair to perhaps share a few comments and close the call for us today.
Sure. Thank you, Thomas. And thanks to all our speakers for those attending today. This is the third town hall we've done in roughly the last 12 hours, trying to cover all the time zones of the earth. And we've had several hundred participants across the three town halls, which I'm very gratified by, showing interest even at this early stage in IAC in Sydney next year. And with just over 12 months to go to the opening ceremony, in some ways, time is short, and I commend the urgency Christian has expressed to you in thinking about what you would like to do to participate in Sydney next year. But there's also still opportunity to engage with us to help shape what that looks like. If your organisation has any particular questions or needs or desires about how you would like to participate next year, there is still time to get in touch through the various mechanisms that Thomas has mentioned, or certainly via the website at iac2025.org. With that, I'll thank you all again for your participation and attention, and I wish you a good rest of the day wherever you may be. Thank you for your time. Goodbye.